A happy new year. It is 2025. Listen, I wanted to come and for a few minutes today and just share some things to kick off the new year. As I always do at the top of the year, at some point in time, I never know when it's going to be. It's kind of when it hits me. But I want to share some practical information that I think will help those of you who struggle with getting your thoughts organized and trying to figure out kind of which way to go, what to do, how to go about establishing the path that you're going to kind of flow and the lane you're going to drive in or flow in for 2025. Here again, yesterday was 2024. Today is 2025. It's another day, it's a new day, but it's also a new year. So with that in mind, it gives us the opportunity, to reset ourselves mentally to start again or to overhaul or to improve upon or to reflect upon, to make adjustments, right? To determine what are the things that, went really, really well. What are the things that didn't go well? What are the adjustments that I can make or need to make to go forward? So this is just some clarity conversation for those of you for whom it will be beneficial to take it, use it how you want. What I'm going to ask you is that, if this information helps you at the conclusion or during this conversation, that you'll share this with someone else that can use this information. Will you do that? And you're probably going to have to go back and listen to it slow and get your notes, but I want to encourage you, first of all, to get some pen. Get some paper, get a pen so that you can take notes. I think that's going to be very, very important for you. A lot of the things that I'm going to share from a practical perspective are going to be noteworthy for you to go back and analyze for your own personal development. Now, one of the things I want to share as a caveat before I get started with what I want to share with you, not going to be long, but the things that I want to share with you is that keep in mind everybody's process is different because everybody's vision is different, everybody's call and purpose is different. And so um but there are practical applications that you can utilize that will help you regardless of what that vision is, to help you move it forward and to help you implement it and execute it. Okay, so I want you to keep that in mind. And so there are certain pieces and parts of what I do I've been doing for a long time, and so it comes second nature to me. I realize and recognize that that is not true for everybody. So that's the thing we want to keep in mind, is that it is something, and I want to get over here so that I can, there we go, make sure that if there are any questions that come up in the chat, I can address those expeditiously during our conversation today. So let me get over to my notes so that I can feasibly see any questions and do the thing that I need to do to make sure. Okay. All right. So we are good to go. All right. So let me get my notes here. Okay. So first of all, I want to start out by, I don't see what my questions are. Okay. I want to start out by, first of all, giving you some questions, right? There's some questions I think that you need to ask yourself. And I think this is just, this is simplistic, simple in nature, nothing, super spooky about it, none of that. It's just practical information and some things that I think that will help you to just get yourself started. Because oftentimes we may overthink, or we may be, thinking outside of the box when we need to be thinking inside the box. I mean, all kinds of things can be the actual catalyst for helping you to go one way or the other. So here's some questions. The first question is this: what is it that you desire to do? Okay, so not everybody is going to necessarily be a business owner, but if you are, what is it that what's your business? What's your craft? What's your product? Whether that is a tangible product or if there's a digital product, that's a knowledge-based type thing. What is it that you desire to do, right? Then question number two, who is it that you desire to be? because you got to know uniquely and be clear about who it is that you are, and what that means for you, and what it is that you are aspiring to be, because this is what trips a lot of us up, is that we're trying to do what we want to do, but we're trying to do it being somebody else, and the two don't necessarily marry well together oftentimes, because you may see a product or a service or a digital product that's being offered by someone else, but you're not them. So how they operate their work ethic, their drive, their way of processing things, their organizational skills, their discipline, all of those things could be very different from yours. So what does that mean? That means you're going to function and operate differently from that person. So that means you may not arrive at the same conclusion or same results, as it relates to you being able to do the thing that that individual is doing. Okay. So, question number three: why is it that you desire to do what it is that you want to do and be who it is that you want to be? There's a reason. So, what is your why? Why do you desire to be the person that you want to be and do the thing that you want to do? What is the root cause there? What is the foundation for your why? Right? Why does that exist? And that can come into play with a whole lot of different things. Um, I will say that that why needs to be authentic to you. It needs to be totally based upon where it is that you are, where what it is that you want. It has to be totally, I mean, dedicated to you as an individual. So that's going to be super, super, super important. So the nucleus of that is going to come back to you, not somebody else. So you can't determine that based on someone else. Your why has to be established based on what it is that you desire for yourself. Okay. So that's question number three. Question number four is, how do you establish a plan to execute the process of getting to the results of what it is that you want to do and who it is that you want to be? I'm going to repeat that question. The fourth question is, how do you establish a plan to execute the process of getting to the results of what it is that you want to do and who it is that you want to be? Okay. And then question number five, well, before I go to question number five, question number four is loaded, because oftentimes we have a desire to be something, we have to be someone, and we have a desire to do something. However, and we have a why, but we have no idea what the plan of action is going to be to execute it, and what the process is going to be to help us get there. So we have we have the framework of what it is we want to do, who it is we want to be, and why we want to do and be those things. But the structure or the establishing of a plan is non-existent. So that's going to be super important, because you got to start where you start. And don't worry, I'm going to give you something to help you with that. And then, of course, question number five is, where do I start? Where do I start? Okay. And so everybody's starting point is going to be different based on what you know, where you've been, what you're doing, the whole nine. That's going to be different for everybody. But I can give you some practical information that will just kind of help you get going. Okay. Um, so the next thing is this: you've got to do some self work. So with those questions are unique to you as an individual, right? So the next thing you got to think about is, how do I get to my starting point, and how do I establish the how, my why, my who, and my what? Okay. So in order for that to happen, you got to do some self work. So I had five questions, and I have five steps for your self work. Okay. Now, for the self work, that's going to mean, number one, self reflection. You got to do some self reflection. I started off the conversation today by saying, you know, yesterday was 2024, today's 2025. It's a new day, but it's also a new year. So it gives us an opportunity to do what? Look back, reflect, and let's think about what went well, what did not go well. How could I have improved upon this? How could I make some tweaks here? How can I make some adjustments here? What changes can I make that will make a difference based on where it is that I want to go and what it is that I want to do to make it better in this year. Okay, so number one, self reflection. That's important. And here's the deal with this self work, you need to have pen, you need to have paper, and you need to write down everything that comes to mind when it comes to each of these areas. Because if you do not, you will not be able to do the work. Why? Because it's not documented, and you're not going to remember everything that comes to mind through your thought process when you go through this exercise. Okay, so it's going to be important that you have pen and you have paper. Now, I suggest pen and paper because it's more effective and it causes you to have a certain level of commitment without you realizing you're committing to the thoughts and the desires and all the things that come about with this particular exercise. You can type it, you can put it in your phone, whatever you desire, but I promise you, if you write it down, it will have a different effect and you'll have a different outcome. Okay, so other self-work, number one, we got self-reflection. Number two, we got self-awareness. So when you do self-reflection, it causes you to have self-awareness, increase self-awareness, because there's certain things that you are aware of and aware about, but there are other things that do not come into the zone of self-awareness until you do some self-reflection. Okay. Now, once there has been self-reflection, number one, and self-awareness, number two, self-awareness helps you to have better self-knowledge. Okay. So your self-knowledge gets better because now that I've reflected, now I'm aware, now I know some other things about myself, my triggers, my, you know, areas of procrastination, my areas of distraction, my areas of inconsistencies, uh, all of these, my discipline, all of these things, I know more now. So I have better self-knowledge as a result of having self-awareness and doing self-reflection. Okay. Now we got number four. Once you've had self-reflection, once you've had self-reflection, it gives you good self-awareness. Then after you've had good self-awareness, you got good self-knowledge because you've increased your knowledge about yourself as a result of self-reflection and self-awareness. Now that your self-knowledge has increased and it's better, number four, you got some better self-direction. Okay. So that means I can make better decisions now. I'm more aware of the things that are a trigger, a distraction, or even a help to me, things that improve to me, things that help me to be better. You have good self direction now. So you're going to make decisions from a different perspective because now your self direction is more keen, your awareness is more keen. In a lot of cases, your discernment becomes more keen because you have better self knowledge. Okay. So after you have gone through self-reflection, self-awareness, self-knowledge, and got some good self-direction, guess what? Now you can have better self-leadership. So that means you're going to lead you in a way that's going to be conducive to help you with the five questions that I originally started with, which was number one, what is it that I desire to do? You're going to be able to lead yourself in that regard. Who is it that I desire to be? You're going to really know more about what is it and who is it that you desire to be by the self-reflection, the self-awareness, the self-knowledge, and the self-direction. Then it helps to better establish and give greater continuity and foundation to your why. Why is it that I want to do what it is that I want to do and be who it is that I want to be? All of that marries together and it makes the core of the vision that you have for yourself to move forward now and going forward. It has a better base to it. There's more substance there. Your values increase there. The vision increases there. You can see things a little bit clearer. Your clarity begins to get come into focus a whole lot more, and things discontinue to be chaotic and blurry, but more clear and more focused. Okay. And then it helps you to have a good starting point because now you know the things that you need to prove upon with your self reflection, with your self awareness, you know what your triggers are, you know the things that you need to do to help yourself be better. You have this better self knowledge to direct yourself better and have better self leadership. So those two pieces work hand in hand. The five questions that I started with in the self work, self reflection, self awareness, self knowledge, and self direction and self leadership. So then my other questions are this. What motivates you? You got to think about this. This is what causes you to come alive, right? Um, Number two, what moves you? What gives you energy? What makes you get up every day and do what it is that you do, right? Um, if there were no vitamins, no boost, no Red Bull, no none of that, what makes you move, right? Then number three, what causes you to gain momentum? That is a steady flow of consistency. So for a lot of us, we can start, but we don't finish. And so we start, but we never gain momentum. And momentum is not about how fast or how slow you go, but it's a steady flow, right? It's a steady flow of consistency. What causes me, what helps me to stay in the game, to stay with it? There may be some up days, down days, and there may be some days of frustration and chaos. But what causes me to stay with it, right? That consistency. So here again, these are just some practical things to help you really get into this flow. And once again, I'm just going to highlight self reflection. That's the process of introspection, right? Where you examine your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors, and you gain deeper insight into those personal experiences. And that's going to help you with self awareness, which involves a conscious understanding of your own personality, including your emotions, your thoughts, and your behaviors. Then we get to self knowledge. This is where you have a comprehensive understanding of your own character, your values, your abilities, and your desires, which we started out with those questions. Then we get to self direction. That's the ability to set and pursue meaningful goals based on an understanding of one's own values and knowledge. It all works together. It all works together, guys. And then the self leadership. This is the practice of influencing yourself, number one, to achieve your personal goals and improve your performance through self motivation and self management. Here again, the self work is ongoing, self motivation and self management. So it's an ongoing thing. This is not a one time exercise, but it's a continuous cycle that should be practiced on a regular basis. So that means you develop a cadence for how you're going to implement and how you're going to manifest this for your life, for your vision, for your business, for whatever it is that you're doing. It could even be for overhauling your home. You just want your home to have a different ambience in 2025. You want to restructure how you manage your home. It can be for anything. So you have to have breakout before you can have breakthrough. So sometimes you have to break out of these various thought processes so that you can break through the barriers that have kept you confined to certain things for so long. Mindsets, need to shift. Thought processes need to shift. Give yourself the permission to break out so that you can break through. All right. And then you got to visualize in order to strategize. If you can't see it, you can't see it. I say this all the time in the pen to paper workshops and in the pen to paper experiences. I talk about this a lot because we have to get to a place that we can see a thing before we can really aspire to see it. We have to be able to see it before we can really focus on it and do the work. So the final thing that I want to share today for this clarity conversation, and I hope this has been beneficial so far for those of you who are tuning in. And I am going to check the chat, of course, when I conclude here shortly, just to see if we have any questions. And if we don't, then okay, cool. You can go back and you can watch the replay and you can take your time and dissect and digest this at your own leisure. There's a vision framework. And of course, shameless plug, the pen to paper vision experience. This is all about vision, purpose, and calling. Will take place the end of this month, the 31st and the 1st of February. So if you have never experienced pen to paper, you want to make sure that you get to Dallas, Texas, the 31st of January and the 1st of February. It is going to be amazing. And I'm telling you, it will change your life. So if you've never had that experience, I encourage you to take part in that. So you can find that information on my website and I'll give that information to you at that culmination. So number one, we got a vision framework. We got V. V is for visualize. Define your ultimate goal, I mean in detail. Create a vivid picture of what success looks like for you. What in whatever regard that is, what do you want the end result to look like? So this goes back to the question of what is it that you want to do? right? So that can be a digital board, that can be a physical board where you go through magazines and you cut out actual pictures and you put, but you need something to visualize. If that is not necessarily tangible things such as products or things of that nature, um, they such as a home, a car, or things like that, but it's all it's intelligentsia, it's it's mental, it's a program, it's something you want, it's content related, then you want to write those things down, put it on some paper, put it on a board, frame it, do something. But you need to make sure that you visualize it. Number two is I. You need to identify, right? Break down the vision into clear, specific objectives. What needs to happen to get there? So I was just in a session earlier today, and my coach was talking about, four by four. So that's 4 quarters, four goals. So however you need to break it down, if that's by quarter, if that's by month, whatever works for you. But you need to make sure that you go at it a bite at a time, a little bit at a time. And especially if you're a person who is not as organized and you have a lot of things going on, take it a little bit at a time. But the whole thing, remember, I said, is about momentum and consistency. So the fact is that you're continuing to work on it. It is not working on you, but you're working on it, and you're working on it at a pace that is conducive for you and how you can manage it so that you can remain consistent. That's important. Then we have S, simplify. Focus on essential priorities. What is the main priority? Oftentimes, we have so many things going on that it's very difficult for us to focus on the essential priorities. What is the priority in me getting to the place of doing this particular thing or being this particular thing? We find it difficult to eliminate distractions and unnecessary steps. So sometimes, here again, information is coming up at us all the time, every day, via social media, via our jobs, via our businesses, via um, groups, and all the things that we're connected to and a part of. So we have information coming to us all kinds of ways and all types of directions via all different types of streams. You have to eliminate the distractions. And sometimes overload of information can be a distraction. Why? Because you don't know what you need and what you don't. And so you have to separate the wheat and the tare, right? So all of these things are coming together. What do I need? What do I not need? Some things you need right now, other things you don't. And so when you're trying to implement things and utilize things that you don't necessarily need at a particular season, because why? You're not in that necessarily in that place to utilize that information or implement those particular things or utilize that particular tool. But you can put it aside for later. So keep that in mind. Keep it simple. Don't overdo it when you're not in a place to receive that and do things on a level that you're not ready to really execute on. So that's important. Then I again is for implement. Create actionable steps. Actionable steps. And I'm emphasizing actionable because you want to create steps that you can feasibly get done because it's all about completing steps, being intentional about the follow up and the follow through. Action steps, here again, it's important that if you establish the action that you take the step to complete the action. Okay. So start with small, consistent actions that build the momentum that you need to be consistent. Okay. Then we have organize. This is going to be key because it all depends upon who you are and how you function and what works best for you. And only you know that. So you have to be able to take information and determine this works well for me, this doesn't work well for me. Some people are hands on. So you can tell them something all day long, but until they do it themselves, they don't really get it. So you have to know what works best for you. So develop a structure or a system to track your progress. So if that's a schedule or a calendar or a checklist every day, or there are certain tools that you use, it could be a tool on your phone, it could be a tool on your computer, it could be a framework that you've been taught, whatever that is, make sure that you establish what works best for you. And then the last one in vision, this vision framework, is navigate. Stay adaptable, stay adjustable, stay open, be flexible. Review and adjust as you need to overcome your obstacles so that you can stay aligned with your vision. That is the core. There's going to always be things that happen around the core of that vision that will cause you to shift and change. It's just like when you go and you get a vision exam every year. The focal point in the center of your eye remains, but there may be things that are happening around that eye that causes that prescription to have to be changed and adjusted year over year or over time. Same thing. Um, and it causes you not to have the clear focus. So they have to give you a new prescription, an updated prescription that will help that vision to remain clear when things begin to get blurry, right? And you begin to lose the clear focus because you need that to walk, to move, to see, to drive, to cook, to bathe, to do whatever you need to do. You need clear focus. You need to be able to see, you need to be able to see good. So that's important. So vision, clear vision is important. So this is a simple framework. Number one, and this is just vision spelled out: V for visualize, I for identify, S for simplify, I for implement, O for organize, and N for navigate, right? So here again, it's just a simple framework that provides a simple, very simple layout for you to discipline yourself and translate your vision into actionable and sustainable progress. So I hope that this information was helpful. I hope that it was um, practical enough for you to be able to um, put it into to a flow where it works for you. Implement it, execute it, and move yourself forward for 2025. It's not, look, it's just only just begun, right? So it doesn't matter if it didn't work the way you wanted it to work in 2024. It's a new day, it's a new year. Let's get it done. Let's go to the next step. So let me just double check and make sure that we don't have any. Let's see if I have any questions. Um, Absolutely. Journaling is definitely important. That's going to be key. So let me just make sure I don't have any questions here. Absolutely. All right. Well, hey, thanks for joining me. For those of you that are in the Zoom room, if you have questions, things I need to elaborate on, repeat. Of course, I am going to hang around with those in the Zoom room for a few minutes to just see what it is that I can do to assist them as they get started in 2025. But for the rest of you, I will see you next time right here on Motivation and Conversation. Have a good 2020.